Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey guys, back again with another One Piece at a Time talking head video. Hope you're all doing well, and send me your questions about home distilling or legal distilling, or the admiration of the art of distilling at bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, the YouTube comments below, or anywhere on social media. Check out oldhomesteaddc.com. That's the Old Homestead Distilling Company, as well as the Old Homestead Hotel in beautiful Bird's Eye, Indiana at Patoka Lake. It's something that you're going to want to check out. I guarantee it. We're doing crazy things at Old Homestead. Right now, obviously focused on shine, as we only have the Sunshine Still Artemisia up and running at the moment. We're also doing some traditional Black Forest brandy, such as peach brandy, apple brandy, out of local Black Forest region fruits. But there's bourbon, rye, traditional brandies, absinthe, etc. coming in the very near future. We should have our grand opening late July, beginning of August, I would think, so keep an eye out for that. Everything over there is really coming along well, and if you want to kind of get an idea video-wise, get a more visual of what we're doing, you can certainly check out my social media, where I have been doing videos for TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc., showing some of our processes and things like that, like malting sunflowers, malting the Elise corn, mashing in the various sunshines. We call it sunshine instead of moonshine because moonshine to me denotes an illicit product made under the moonlight. Sunshine is made in the daytime. It's made out in the open. It's a completely legal thing, 100%, right? And it's also made out of sunflowers, which is pretty damn cool. A tribute to my brother Michael Stallings, Saint Sparrow, as we call him, the patron saint of heathen distillers. So, all that being said, thought I'd do a little quick check-in here today. So, we haven't actually got into any of the Badmos on this channel yet, and some of these are a little over a year old now. So, this one today is a little bit different. So, this is barrel 2495. So, this is actually a new oak barrel. I believe this is a French oak barrel, if I remember correctly. I will have to ask Christopher on that. Anyways, if you don't have any Badmos, reach out to Badmotivator. They make fantastic barrels. They're basically the same surface area of wood as what a 62-gallon Bordeaux style barrel would be, so actually a little bit bigger than a 53-gallon barrel. These and the 1030 barrels are the closest thing I've ever experienced as a craft distiller to actually replicating to a greater degree what a full-size barrel will do for a distillate. If you're a home distiller and you want to up your game and you want to take it to the next level and get a little closer to what the craft guys are doing or the big guys are doing, you need to have you a couple Badmos or a couple 1030s or something of that nature for sure. High quality wood, higher quality wood than what we can actually get in the craft distilling industry most of the time now. Barrel wood that's actually aged any amount of time, 4 years in particular with the Badmos. Incredibly hard to get your hands on at this point. Also incredibly expensive when you do, about $600 per barrel for a 53-gallon barrel. When I started off 10 years ago, that same barrel was about $125. So that gives you some idea of how much inflation there has been on good quality new oak barrels in the distilled spirits industry. As you guys might know, Texas judge this past week overturned the ban on illegal distilling. There should have never been illegal distilling, the ban on home distilling, as it were, moonshining without selling it, obviously. That never should have been a thing in the first place. It is an infringement of our rights. This is a great hobby, and one in which many people find a passion, a love, maybe even find the spiritual path, such as I have. Or, I recently did a veterans event out in Pennsylvania at Stolen Wolf Distillery. A lot of those veterans, great people, loved meeting every one of them. Some of them were already distilling at home. Some were getting interested in the art of distillation because it was a little bit of a therapy for them, something to really get passionate about and get into. Not everybody wants to play with model trains. Not everybody is an artist. Some people need something different and process driven that can take them out of their head for a little while, let them focus on something else quality wise. And the government's got 14 days to respond. We'll see how that response goes. I think there might be some big players in the industry that push back on it because they somehow think it's going to affect their bottom line. I don't see any way, in shape, or form in which it will. People have been brewing beer and making wine at home for years. There's still all kinds of commercial breweries and wineries, big and small, out there. Not everybody's going to go out and rush and get them a fucking still. And even if they do, their ability to actually pull off a decent distillation without putting in the time and effort required is pretty thin. I would say. So, which brings me to another point I wanted to touch on. I saw some debate about the word master distiller and all that stuff here lately. And I do not use the term master distiller to describe myself. I do not let the companies I work for use that term to describe me. I call myself the alchemist of the Black Forest. I am the representative of the Black Forest region and its history of distilling here in southern Indiana. I call myself an alchemist because distillation is derived from the art of alchemy. And I consider myself an actual alchemist because I do things beyond just alcohol distillation, or even when I'm doing alcohol distillation, often I'm going to deeper depths than what most distillers do. I do it as well because it's a little tongue-in-cheek, right? If you're going to identify as something kind of goofy and kind of cocky, why not go all the way, right? Instead of master distiller, fucking head alchemist, right? The cockiest fucking thing you could possibly say about yourself. But there is a preponderance of people in this industry that get into this industry, and a lot of them get a lot of credit for things that they themselves didn't do. And you will rarely hear them talk about their team. You're going to hear me talk about my team at Old Homestead a lot, because my team at Old Homestead is amazing. Great people with a great work ethic who really care about one another and take care of one another and throw in where they have to make a good quality product. You're going to hear big names bandied about out there. You'll see them in articles, this and that and the other, and they get credit for all the wrong reasons, either because of whatever it is that makes them special as a human being, whether it's their sex, their orientation, their race, etc., or just that they have, you know, the right genetics and we're at the right place at the right time in the company and get the job they have. I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell you that about 95% of master distillers aren't even good distillers. They don't even qualify as distillers. A lot of these people come in the industry and they want to be a distiller. They want to jump on that title as quick as they can. Listen, you've been somewhere 2 years, you're not a distiller. You're an apprentice at best, period. End of story. It takes years to become a distiller. Lots and lots of discipline, lots and lots of repeatability, lots and lots of experimentation in every possible category that you can play around in. Don't claim the title until you've earned it. You're only doing yourself a disservice, even if you are getting the attention that you so desperately seem to need on social media. It's not aimed at anyone at all. I just see these articles all the time talking about new distillers and they're master distillers, blah, blah, blah. No one cares. No one cares. You're not proving yourself. And conversely, if you are in a big company and they've awarded you the title of master distiller, you probably don't know that much. Sorry, but you don't. There's a few guys that warrant that title. Jimmy Russell is the master distiller of Wild Turkey. If you want to know something about Wild Turkey, you go to Jimmy Russell. I've said this before, though. If you drop Jimmy into an old Soviet bloc country and said, here's a plum tree in a pot, still make me a slivovitsia, he might look at you and say, what the hell's a slivovitsia? And even if he knew what a slivovitsia was, he's probably not going to know how to make that masterfully the first 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times he tries it. And that's no offense to him whatsoever. I'm the same way about certain spirits. So just is what it is. Anyways, back on track now that my rant is over with. Content filling, that's what we'll call it. I should mention too, I do have an appearance coming up with Jesse on Still It again as well. I just wanted to extend my sincerest thank you to Jesse for all the help that he's given this channel over the years, and the hardcore viewers that's given me. It's appreciated. If it wasn't for guys like him and George and Bearded and Board, I wouldn't be doing this silly little channel. It doesn't have near the production value those guys do. Anyways, what we have here is a Solera of apple brandy made between 2022 or between 2020 and 2022. 2020 was a massive year for apples here in southern Indiana, and me and DJ Henderson, my best friend, got together and we made a bunch of apple brandy that year. We then took that apple brandy and I, for the next 2 years, distilled some more apple brandy, both from local apples and a few apples from the store here and there when I get bored in the wintertime or something like that. And took it, blended it, and it was set in a vat for those years in my cellar. It had quite a bit of new oak on it. It also had some French oak on it. And then I also had some 1800s white oak that my buddy Kent Mace sent to me. I would check it from time to time, mix it up from time to time, taste it from time to time. It was pretty nice. It wasn't bad. But once I started getting some of these Badmos originally from Benjamin Quady and then later Christopher Conrad, I thought, you know what would really set that apple brandy off is if it had a proper cask to go into. So I took some of it and put it in 2 Badmotivators, and it's been in there for a little bit over a year. Now, I've done the exact opposite with these barrels as what I would normally suggest. They did sit in the cellar for a little while, but then they got moved into hot climates. They went into a greenhouse last summer. They went into a shed that gets incredibly hot, 110, 115 degrees. Normally, you don't want to do that with brandy because you don't want to blow off the volatility. As well, this brandy was proofed down to like 110. Normally, I'd keep it at cast strength and proof it over the years. I've done everything, quote unquote, the wrong way that I normally advise people to do with this brandy in this Badmotivator. But I did it because I have faith in the Badmotivators, and because I knew it was good brandy to start with, and because I wanted to, quite frankly, see what the hell it would do. And I got it here sitting in front of me, and I can tell you right now from looking at the color, that color has changed drastically. It is so much more beautiful and rich than what it once was. Look at that, guys. Look at that. Sort of a copper, red, amber. It's gorgeous. I haven't tested the proof on this. I'm going to say, given the heat that it's been in, if it started off at like 105, 110, as I believe it did, it's probably up there about 115, 120, if I had to guess. This barrel had quite a bit of pressure on it from the heat that it's been exposed to. I didn't even have to take the bung out to actually get this sample out that I've got in front of me. And normally you do have to have that open to let the barrel breathe. This time it came right out. It was ready to come out. So we're gonna see if it's about time to bottle this stuff. Now, I don't remember all the varieties of apples that went into this because I tend to collect apples from 2 local orchards that are privately owned. They're not commercial orchards. They're just groves of trees that friends have planted. One in Paoli, Indiana, which is made up of legitimate heirloom cider apples, about 14 varieties, I think. One in Salem, Indiana, made up of, I believe there's 2 seedling apple trees, and there's 1 grafted apple tree. I don't even know what the grafted one is. It's a red apple of some sort. And then there's also, more than likely, a decent amount of Golden Delicious in here. And I think there was some Turley wine sap in here from a couple years ago that I had my friend, who's now passed away, Sean Abell, pick those up for me and distilled those. So, all that being said, it's a very diverse apple blend. Let's see what we got. Oh, man. Now, the nose on that is 2 things. As I expected, it's not super in-your-face perfumey apple brandy because it's been exposed to so much heat, but there's plenty there, and I guarantee you with water this is going to open up and it's going to be a bomb on the nose. This is the closest to a fresh apple experience in an apple brandy of any of the apple brandies I've ever made that I've ever had. Very round, very soft on the nose, very sweet, very fruity. No Red Delicious here, but if you cut a Red Delicious or even like a Fuji or a, what do you call them, the Honey Crisp, that real fruity, real aromatic sort of thing going on here. There is some caramel there, maybe a little English toffee underneath there, and maybe just a hint of that tannin being where it needs to be at. There's like a little like roasty coffee thing, like a very, very subtle thing. Oh man, I'm almost proud of myself on this one, but I can't take all the credit for this. This is also Badmotivator here doing this. Also drinking out my Whiskey Witch Nation glass, which has a chip in it. It's almost melty in a way. It's hold on just a second. All right, sorry about that. My mom was leaving. She was down here visiting my daughter, and so she didn't realize I was recording a video. But back to the taste of this apple brandy. So the entry is sweet, but also very structured. It's not heavy tannin like bitterness, but there's certainly a lot of tannic structure there. Now, I think a lot of that probably originally came from preloading this, obviously with, you know, the various woods that I used in the cellar for a couple years there, and I probably let that go a little longer than what I should have. but it almost becomes like an English toffee sort of characteristic. The mouthfeel is really interesting because it's a melting characteristic, right? It's hard to explain. It's a texture thing. It's almost like ice cream or something. Like it gets to your mid palate and it just kind of spreads. It's real creamy in general, which is something that I love in a spirit in general. Like I love that kind of decadent dessert style thing. Now I don't want it overly sweet. I want it to hold up, have some heat, and have some punch to it. But I love that melty sort of characteristic that I'm mentioning here, right? That almost it's almost a dairy-like characteristic, not in flavor but in effect, right? I'll go back to it real quick. So on the nose, man, now I'm getting like heavy roasted apples. You know, my grandma would just take apple slices and she would bake them with brown sugar, right? And sort of crisp them to some degree in the oven. At least the edges were crispy. Not with even with any grain or anything like that, just like candied apples sort of thing. There's a lot of that going on here. And that tannic note, again, comes off as almost like a really light roast. So the entry is really soft, really subtle. Apple and English toffee. Again, that melting sensation once it gets to about mid-palate. At mid-palate, there's a sweet note, but it's not a high note. It's more of a mid-level note that is very distinctly that roasted apple, fried apple sort of characteristic. It moves to the sides. Just a tiny little pinch of heat there that goes cinnamon, and then at the back it's that sweet apple. The finish is a little shorter than I would have expected. I suspect that once I proof this down, it'll be what I want it to be. I can tell you that this is improved substantially from what was in the cellar. That Badmo made this into something. What was in the cellar was something that I would have drank over time, but probably might have been reluctant to put in front of friends. This is now something that I am not afraid to put in front of friends, or to put in front of other distillers for that matter. In terms of a homemade spirit, this is on par with some of the best stuff that I've ever done, like some of the absinthe things like that I've done at home. 10 of 10, recommend Badmotivator, man. It'll step your game up. Let's go back to it again, see if we catch anything else real quick, just because I like to be thorough with tastings. So right between the entry and the mid palate, it's definitely caramel apple there. When I was thinking of English toffee earlier, it is an English toffee like sort of note, but you put your mind around it, you definitely get that caramel apple characteristic. The exhale, a lot of big apple skin, right? Big fruity apple skin. But also overall, there's almost a rye whiskey aesthetic to it, and in that it's a little more aggressive than most apple brandies are. It's a true American style apple brandy. There ain't no doubt about that. This is not Calvados. This is Hoosier Black Forest apple brandy, through and fucking through. If I were to die tomorrow, you could serve this at my funeral, and I would be a happy camper. Just saying. So, guys, get you a Badmo. They're worthwhile. I'm going to play around with preloading a lot more spirits with some of the French oak staves that I've played with in the past. I like Candy Shop a lot. That's a good one. But also then going into Badmos after that, because I think it's well worthwhile. All right, y'all. Love you. Later.